everyone, and welcome to today's CoatsCast, Where Next, the Past, Present and Future of Denim. Today you're tuned in to episode 1, Threads Unpicked. And before we get started and I hand you over to our host, Mohsin, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We're going to be sending you a recording via email after the broadcast, so please don't worry if you've missed something. You can always go back and revisit the session afterwards. If you've got any questions for our presenters throughout the session, please feel free to submit them using the questions pane in your GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. We will collate these during the presentation and go through as many as possible in our allotted Q&A time at the end of the session. Finally, we do have a handout for you to download today. Again, these can be found in your GoToWebinar control panel. Also, in the chat box, we'll be posting some helpful links that you might want to take the time to explore as well. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to today's host, Mohsin Sajid.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. My name is Mohsin. I'm a denim light designer, and I've been a denim designer for nearly 20 years, and I've been working a lot with a lot of big denim brands from Levi's, and also doing a lot of work with lots of the actual supply chain. So people that make the actual fabric, also to the actual factories that make it. And I've been traveling quite a lot in my career. I'm very, very excited to do this. And the thing is about threads and components like trims and buttons and threads are the things that most designers most of the time think about at the end process. And now, because it's becoming even more important that we're thinking more in a circular way and thinking more about sustainability, making things without damaging the actual planet. So now modern day designers and younger designers are thinking about these components a lot more earlier in their design process. Me in particular, I've been using lots of different lyocell threads and the rest of it quite recently, and it's been mind-blowing the different options and different thread options that are actually available. So these next 3 sessions that we're going to be doing, and the first one today is about history, which is quite exciting, are going to be really quite interesting to watch, and hopefully you guys will be learning something as well, which is quite cool. Joining me today is someone who's very important. He's Troy Patet, and he's the head of technical services at Coats Group. Hi, Troy. And we're going to be going through some slides, through some of the questions that some people ask as well. But I've got one question, one little thing to discuss with us first. And most people probably didn't realize this, but the very first threads that were used on the first denim jean in 1873 was actually a linen thread. So if you think about it, back at this early sort of era, it was obviously cotton and linen and all these earlier types of materials that we were using. But obviously from the 1950s onwards, the invention of polyester and other more stronger threads, we've been obviously going more to that. But linen back then was a thread that people used a lot with leather making and handicrafts. And obviously when it came to making workwear, it was obviously the thread that Jacob Davis and Levi Strauss first used. But Troy, welcome. I thought I just mentioned that first. It's really sort of interesting. Troy, how have threads developed over the years, and why are they so important?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, originally threads were, like anything, we're taken from animal products or from products from nature that was available. As history progressed, really kind of an original sustainability movement was building things that are built to last. And part of that was the development of polyester, a more durable and a stronger product. So, like you said, in the 50s, it transitioned to that. And then really for coats in 1963, we first patented our dual duty product, which is it's a polyester core wrapped with cotton staple. So it still has that natural look, but the strength of polyester. And just going into today, the most popular threads that are used in denim from Coats are Epic, which is 100% polyester core spun, and our dual duty, which again is polyester wrapped cotton.
I've been finding as a denim designer in recent years, 10 years or so, I've been using a lot of dual duty, only because I do a lot of laser finishing and sometimes quite, in my earlier career, very harsh finishing. Obviously, in the last 5 or 6 years, I've been now focusing a lot more on making garments that are a lot more sustainable, so less bleaching and things like this. So obviously there must be lots of newer types of threads that you're working towards, or even you're not pushing, but you're showing to your customers going, why don't you use this instead, right? Surely there are options now that are different. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So our technical services team, which we have 100 people around the globe, are working with denim manufacturers and denim brands to understand, how the denim industry is progressing. Kind of starting with, understanding with the historical treatments that were done post sewing. So the rinse washes, the bleachings, the stone washes, all that, and building a thread and then suggesting threads that were going to be fit for purpose. Do you want a thread where the color is going to withstand all those processes? Or do you want something that's going to fade down to give it that worn, natural look? As you mentioned, with some of the lasering treatments that are going on now, we're using a lot of the dual duty, which is protected, which has the cotton that protects the thread during the lasering process. We found, initially when people were starting to use lasering, similar to what you said, kind of thread is one of the last things they think about. And when the lasering process goes on, when the laser hits polyester at the right intensity and the right duration, the polyester is going to melt and give it a burnt look, as well as a rough hand feel. So people were continuing to use polyester, but then they were doing things like having people in the factories put liquid soap to protect the thread during the lasering process. So we worked with our customers as well as the lasering equipment manufacturers to test our various threads, and found that dual duty is one of the best in terms of withstanding the laser and giving the garment a good finish and durability throughout its life cycle.
Amazing. Something quite a funny little story from my times at working at different factories. I remember going to a factory in Thailand that used to make garments, and they used to put wax on the selvage. So when they used to do the treatments, the selvage color was still nice and clean. So there are little tricks that factories do, like without telling the actual garment maker what they're actually doing, the actual person that's bought the garments. So going on to our next question, obviously, how many different colors of threads are there on a pair of jeans? I know from experience, after making my own jeans, if you just use one color, it's awesome. But if you use one or two colors and different shades and different thicknesses, it makes the jean pop. And that's actually the art of actually picking good thread colors. And I've found, and also with the different types of like machines as well. Like if you're a designer and you pick one color, it's like an ecru color, the actual factory would have to have that color in about probably 3 to 4 different sizes for the bar tack machines, for the everyday machines, the lock stitch machines, and then of course any thicker threads that they need. So there's a lot that happens with thread that many designers and developers probably don't actually realize. But yeah, especially when it comes to the different like machinery, you sometimes need a different kind of thread, and sometimes a thread that's been lubricated slightly differently for the machine, surely, right? There's certain threads that work well with certain machines, right? Bar tack machines or overlockers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. From a garment manufacturing standpoint, if we could use one size thread for the entire garment, it would be much easier for manufacturing, eliminate any mistakes. But either the garment would be over designed or under designed. So exactly what you said. There can be 5, 6, even more different types and colors and sizes of thread within a particular garment. As you said, how are you going to, close the side seam? How are you going to do the bar tacks? How are you going to attach the belt loops in a way that it's fit for function, it's going to give durability. And then, also looking at the design aspects, how do you want that thread to look on the garment? Do you want to use a larger thread to give it, a kind of more rugged appearance, or do you want to have the threads unnoticeable in the garment? So, it's a design standpoint and from a functionality standpoint, how threads are recommended for denims.
Absolutely. I teach a lot at like many sort of like universities, and when I teach students every year, I always tell them a general rule, like if you can notice the thread, then something might be wrong. If it blends in with the garment, then actually you've done your job. So it's quite a funny look. Obviously, unless you want to make it a design feature and you want the garment to stand out. Like I know I've got like designer friends of mine who get so excited by like a pink bar tack, just one little pink bar tack. They go, that shade is unbelievable. You know, it brings joy. This tiny little pink bar tack. You know, so even Wrangler used to do this like dot tack, it's like a circle bar tack as well from the 40s and 50s, and so it's amazing how much excitement and joy these little things can actually bring to a garment. But I've got some slides that I want to show you. If Sarah can can kindly bring it up for us. But this is just some historical garments, just so some of our friends who are here like listening in can actually see. So actually, the first slide is quite interesting. It's really amazing. You can date garments. It's like archaeology now. You can date garments from the type of stitches that I've used, type of colors that have been used. But here's an example of a hand-done buttonhole. So you know, we know that the buttonhole machine was invented in the late 1890s. So the first 20 years or so, especially in the world of denim, everything was done by hand, especially when it came to the buttonhole. So that's a very interesting thing. And if you notice about this garment also, it's not they've used a kind of a tobacco color, and actually there's evidence as well. If you want to carry on, next slide if possible. There's the early garments that were made. Well, it's actually, there's a more of a interesting like discussion. Someone should do a PhD about this. Basically, there's lots of evidence that a lot of ecru colors were used. So here's a very early Levi's pant where they've used the ecru color stitch, which looks awesome. It's obviously very much the same color as the thick selvage line. And if Sarah can move to the next slide, the very first jeans that Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis actually made on their patent was actually a duck canvas pant. So here's an example of that duck canvas pant. And it's very interesting the colors they would have chosen, because they wanted the garment to actually blend in, right? So these kind of tobacco-y, browny kind of tones, they could have also originated from this early duck pant. So which is quite exciting. Go to the next slide if possible. What's amazing about it is you can actually track quite a lot of garments through this. So here's another Levi's garment. This is way before the invention of like the belt loops. So the belt loops came in 1922. We haven't got the left pocket yet, or the fifth pocket as they're called. So very easy to roughly date when this garment was made. But if you notice, it's using an ecru type stitch. So in the history of workwear and garments, it's been what's been readily available, what's easy to come by. Even the copper in the rivets that they used was a ready like material that was readily available at that time, so they decided to use copper. It's the same thing here as well. And these early garments as well would have been dyed with natural indigo as well, which is quite amazing.
Yeah,
and next slide if possible.
Just if I could interrupt, it's denim is such an iconic thing, and we look at this, it's over 100 years old, but we can still recognize it as a denim jean, and it's very interesting to see the history of denim, and how it was so well developed at its concept, that the design, it's modified through the years, but largely it's very identifiable now to what was done 100 years ago.
It's very much unchanged, and what's amazing about it is it's one of the only garments that you can still wear. And if you wear anything else from this period, people might ask you if you're going to a fancy dress show or market or something, or a fun party. But denim and workwear, it's pretty much timeless. And what Jacob Davis and Levi Strauss did, even the shape of the back pocket is the shape of the tools that the miners were using, and all of these details were there for a reason. Even there's only one back pocket because most people were right-handed, so they didn't put things on for no reason at all. So it's very interesting. And even the sizes back then would have been not as regulated as they are now. So you'd buy the size that fits you. It's overall, so you wear it on top of another garment and you just cinch it up to your size. So pretty fun and awesome when you think about it. And this garment would have also been made with a single needle tailored method. So no overlocking here. It's tailor made, so nice clean finishing. It's pretty different to how some garments are made now, but but we'll move on. So we go to the next slide and we'll talk about some of the other ones. There's only a couple more slides left. That's possible. Thank you. So yeah, more evidence here. So pretty much the same era kind of pant. What's interesting is the coin pocket is on top of the waistband here, and yeah, I think it's hard to tell, but it could be a tobacco stitch that's they're using here. So even back then they were fluctuating between different color stitches. If you could move down, please. And then we get to the late 1890s, coin pockets moved, and this is when just at the tip end of when they started to not. This is still a natural indigo pant, but soon they're going to be using chemical sort indigo as well. So this is when when our German friends figured out the formula of like natural indigo, and move down if you could. And then we're at this stage now. So when we get to the 20s and 30s, then it starts pretty much looking like the pant that you and I would wear now. If you walk into any Sears or any high street store, you would have a jean. It pretty much looks like this. This is just before the invention of the belt loop. So, it's got a cinch back still, but what's amazing is now they're using a lot of tobacco colors. They've standardized a lot of details. They're starting to use other like machines. So you have waistband machines now, you have other machines. So again, you're seeing different text, different thicknesses of thread all over the jean now. And it's becoming more mass market. So yeah, if we move down, we're going to get to the 1947 model. So this is pretty much the blueprint that we wear now, and pretty much this is it. It's been standardized from now onwards, and now they're using overlockers. They're cutting costs. They're trying to make things as fast as possible. And most people think this is the golden era of making stuff, and it pretty much is. But I personally like the 20s era and the 90s era more, because they were a lot more tailored in origin. They were a bit more creative when they made things, but it's still awesome to see. And if you notice, this pant here, it's using about 3 or 4 different shades of like tobacco, different color for the arcuates, the back pocket stitching, and yeah, and it's still got a leather patch, which is awesome. And then a couple more slides just to show some examples, because I've in my own archive I've got quite a lot of garments, but I've got lots of examples of ecru color thread as well, and you see a lot of ecru colors actually on these railroad type overall type garments as well. So you see a lot of it here, and you see evidence of it in the next slide as well. Awesome to see. There you go. So here's an example of this. I also buy scraps, Troy. Would you believe? I buy scraps of denim for thousands of dollars because I love researching thread color, and I love researching the shade as well. And that's what I do. All these old garments, I actually color match a lot of the things, and I unpick seams to see what the color of the thread was before it would be worn.
Sure.
Quite mad, really. Quite mad. But what's funny about this garment, one little thing, it's got selvage on the tool pocket, which is hidden. So they didn't waste anything, and they were very, very clever of how they made things. But as evidence of an ecru color stitch used on an overall. And then I think the final slide as well, which I think there's one more slide left. Yeah, so this garment's interesting. At 1950s payday. And what's amazing about it was starched. It was heavily starched, this garment. And I bought it in like Greensboro when I was in like one of my many like America trips. And this garment, literally, it's like cardboard. You could pretty much tear it. It had been starched so much that you could like literally hit the wall with it. So it had a really beautiful finish. But yeah, we ended up replicating this color and matching the actual thread color. So thank you so much, Sarah, for that. Let's move on. So how important, so Troy, how important is thread color? This is your guys' business is all about thread color. You guys your color card must be updated every few years. You're adding another 30, 40 colors more, right?
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. Whether talking about denim or whether talking about our standard threads, we have color palettes, and we do have a palette especially built for denim. We call it our denim color card, which are like you say, the rust colors, the tobacco colors, some of the blacks and the blues that are used for denim production. And from historical data, we know that these are the colors that are going to be chosen for denim, and we build them as stock items. That's maybe a little bit kind of quote unquote old school, kind of a color palette that you can see. So we're working, actually with yourself and InDrime to create a denim visualizer tool. So something that designers and our customers can see the finishing effects of the thread in the denim with different washes, in a virtual way, but an accurate way, using garments that are cut and sewn, and then going through the different process. So you can see the appearance of the thread, the color of the thread, and how it's going to look in a finished garment after all the processes. So we're very excited about that, and I believe it's going to be launched sometime later this year towards autumn.
Yeah, no, actually, this is something that I'm slightly colorblind, would you believe? Even though I can see color, but I get some things confused. So for me as a denim designer, I'm always coming up with nice little tools to help me. Or I know I have my favorite colors that I use for dark washes and light washes, and and my wildcard colors. So I've created a system myself. Every single time I wash a garment, I know I'll go to my go-to colors that work well, and I've definitely got a pool of maybe 30 colors that I always go to every season, and I add maybe 1 or 2 colors every season. It's very strict what I do. But when you guys very kindly came to me and goes, would you be excited to do help us do a tool for designers and like developers? I said, this is awesome, because this is the kind of thing that most designers are very precious about their own tools, about sharing knowledge, or about sharing what colors they like. They're very precious about it. But I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, let's just share. Let's look at what the best-selling colors are. Let's look at what the exciting colors, to see what color combinations work so well with other colors, and let's look at historical garments as well and understand what's worked before. So you can't underestimate colors, and you could make or break a jean by the wrong color of thread, right? So it's so many times I've seen a jean and I'm like, oh, I wish they didn't do that. So I have friends of mine who sometimes get marker pens out and start drawing on the thread color, so it's not too garish. So it can make or break a jean quite briefly. It'll be interesting to find out. So obviously iconic denim pieces. We need to think more about premium garments as well. And sort of there's as you said, sort of dual duty has been around for quite a long time, and it's one of the most successful thread types that you guys sell. But what other ones are there that are coming through now in a sustainability front that you guys are quite excited about?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have 100% polyester and the cotton polyester in Epic and Dual Duty, where we've created and launched the recycled versions of those. So 100% recycled polyester and 100% recycled core in the Dual Duty, the cotton polyester, both under our Eco Verde range. So Epic Eco Verde and Dual Duty Eco Verde. So again, 100% recycled polyester. We're also working with foundations like the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, to see how we can use 100% cotton threads, the correct size, and how do those threads react in the finishes with the different types of finishes. So we have Trey Cherokee, which is our 100% long staple cotton thread that we're using for those. And then, also now moving into other threads like Eco Region, which is our lyocell thread. So, a cellulosic thread that, is better for the environment than cotton. You're using less water, less pesticides and things like that.
No, I've been using your lyocell thread and other competitors' threads as well, and it's awesome to see the advancement only in the last 3 or 4 years, and it's so exciting as a denim designer having all these options now. I know if I'm going to be doing a rinse wash, then I know what kind of thread to choose. If I'm going to be doing a harsh treatment that maybe using a PP spray or something, then maybe I should go with the dual duty. But obviously these more sustainable threads that you guys are coming up with, they're not, everyone thinks, I should just go with the sustainable option. But if you're going to be still doing harsh treatments, then maybe, we're still at the old beginning stages of these earlier kind of threads, right? Or you're testing them quite you're testing them a lot, right? To make sure they can withstand all the harsh treatments, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, I mentioned before, we have a team of 100 technical advisors around the world that work with brands and with also the garment manufacturers. So we're going into the garment manufacturers, seeing what's happening, on the sewing floor, and with denim, probably more importantly, what's happening in the finishing processes, and doing testing with our products. Seeing where the issues are and developing new solutions to those those issues that are being found on the production floor, and then also taking inspiration from people like yourself or other designers in the brand, saying it'd be great if we had a thread that would do this, and developing threads from that.
I think there's been a lot of it's been brought to a lot of people's attention now, and it's becoming the mainstream of plastic waste. And even there's some old Wrangler garments that people have dug up from the ground, and it's literally just the polyester fibers that still hold together by the polyester and the lycra. So it's quite amazing. But obviously, do you see a future without plastics? Is that the long-term mission at the end of the day, is to go to more sustainable, not animal made, but products that will disappear if you bury them or if they're put in like a landfill? Is that the optimal goal for you?
Yeah, there's kind of two ways to look at it. We want something that's going to be durable. So we don't want to develop a product that's not going to last through the consumer use, the end consumer use. Historically, Coats has made products that put garments together and is built to last. So now we're looking at things. How can we develop threads that will last through the life cycle of the garment, but at the end of the garment allow it to come apart through an extra process, to remove things like zippers, to remove different parts, different fabrics, so they can be recycled individually. But to your question about will polyester always be used? I think the direction is now going away from polyester. I don't it's not going to happen in 5 years, but definitely in the future I think polyester is going to be used less and less as we go forward, and develop better products, more sustainable products, and more environmentally friendly products.
I think there's always a place for it. If you're doing a firefighter's outfit, or you're doing something that's really technical, or something for the military that has to withstand harsh chemicals from God knows what, then of course the whole development and the R&D still has to happen with polyester to make it the best type, or whatever it is. So I still think there's always a room for all of these other technologies. But the fact that it's becoming a lot more exciting, and the fact that you are going in a direction which is more sustainable, it's awesome. I think it's awesome. All of you guys and all the like that are doing similar things like that are also awesome too. We've got some questions, Troy. We've got some questions. So let's just see. Let's go through them first. What have you found? Hi Sarah. I'm just going to read the questions that I've got here first, and then if that's okay.
Yeah.
Unless you want to interrupt. Troy,
no, we've put lots of questions in the chat, Mohsin, so you go for it.
Oh, have you really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No worries then. Okay. Oh, let me just see if I can navigate that. 1 second. Okay. Okay. What have you found, Troy, is one of some of the best-selling colors in like denim? In the best-selling thread colors.
Yeah, it's like we talked about before. It's what we have in our denim shade card, our denim color book. It is some of the rust, the tobacco colors, these iconic colors that people expect in their denim. Kind of like you said, some people tend to like to put signatures on their garments with a pink bar tack or a yellow bar tack or whatever. But it's the traditional tobacco, oranges and rust colors that are often used in denim.
I've got friends of mine that I've known for 20 years, and I can tell if it's designed by them by the thread colors that they've used, which is crazy. So it's awesome. You sometimes have signatures, and the design might not be theirs, but the thread color options are there, so it's quite awesome.
And that's why we're excited about the denim visualizer tool that we're developing with you, because it's especially in today's world where we're not able to move around as much and see things, to be able to see something on a screen without having to ship garments or ship panels around the world, to actually see it through calibrated screens and actual color, and it's quite exciting. Again, from a sustainability standpoint, we're saving all that extra moving around and carbon emissions and whatnot, and being able to achieve the end result by seeing the product real time and very quickly as well.
No, it's awesome because I love spreading knowledge, and these kind of tools will help the younger designers who haven't got access to old garments or historical research. So even if it's something that we can put on the Coats website and explain, hey, this old Levi's jean from the 1920s, let's explore what thread colors they actually used. So it's an awesome thing to do. Let's go to the next question. What process would you suggest to choose? What process would you suggest using to choose the right thread for the different washes? Is there set criteria? Now, you can go first, Roy. There's lots of different ways you can do this. Obviously, do you want me to answer first? It might be easier. Yeah. It depends.
Sure.
If you know that you're going to be doing a harsh chemical wash, or you're going to be doing some kind of PP spray, or you're going to be doing some ozone or laser treatments, then obviously having a dual duty, or even the lighter thread could even like sort of like withstand it. I always say, if you're going to do like sustainable treatments, then you can use a sustainable thread. But if you're going to do harsher treatments, then probably you should use some of the threads that we've been using for the last 20 or 30 years. That way you know it's going to be safe. Would you agree to that, or agree to that?
Yeah, exactly. It is, you have to select something that's going to be fit for function. So yeah, if it's going to be a harsh treatment, you're going to have to need something that's going to withstand that harsh treatment. And like you said, some of the less harsh treatments, we can use a less strong, less durable thread. Kind of going away from the polyesters, using a cotton or using a cotton covered polyester. But yeah, we have our technical teams, in countries of manufacture, the Turkeys, Pakistans, Bangladesh's, India's of the world, to help, the garment manufacturer, and then, people who work with the brands and the designers around the world to understand, how that garment is going to be processed, and then recommending the correct threads. I will also mention that on our website, Coats.com, we do have some examples of how a particular thread will look through the different washes, whether it's bleaching or ozone finishing, so you can get an indication of how the wash down will look on the thread, or conversely how it won't wash down.
Yeah, and I personally love using threads that fade. I know for certain garments, if you got a really flat garment and you want the color not to fade, and there's been a recent trend in the last few years to have jeans that don't fade. So obviously having a thread that doesn't fade is very important for that jean. So it's just understanding what you want to try and do, what trend you're going to try and follow, if you're following trends or don't follow trends. And then, as I said, I love things that fade. I like imperfections. I like things that go wrong when you make things. I'm a different way of thinking when I make garments now. So I even posted a picture only a few days ago of something that I designed, and someone from a factory said, "Oh, the stitching is slightly incorrect," and I went, "Actually, I don't mind that." So it's each to their own. There's no right or wrong way, and obviously you can go ahead, and that's what the whole visualizing tool that's going to come out in the autumn is there to help and educate other designers and like developers on set combinations that have worked for certain washes, and also give a tool so they can go ahead and design their own things. And what's great about the tool is you'll be able to pick your own colors, and then you'll be able to export as a PDF straight away. So you can put it directly into your tech pack, give it to your developer, and has the thread information on there and the colors. So it's pretty easy and it's done. So it's the one thing that some people also find quite difficult. So it's an awesome thing that we're doing. Sarah,
And how much
or Omar, are there any
speed will that add to the process as well? Being able to do things digitally, it's awesome.
It's also the way it's going as well. It's like we've been designing in Clo 3D and lots of 3D software, and it's heading that direction even more now. Even all the consultancy jobs that we've been getting are they're all 3D based. So it's heading that direction, and that way you got to know your thread colors and your thread type straight away. So, you can't just rely on the factory to pick it for you. Sarah, any more questions for us that have come
Just
through?
one more last question before we wrap up. So it's probably for Troy. How do you innovate new threads to keep up with the different denim trends?
Yeah, it's working with our customers, identifying what the trends are, from a brand perspective, a brand and designer perspective, what do they see is coming up, different colors, different finishes, working with the manufacturers to see, really, from a manufacturing standpoint, what kind of issues are they having, going back to the laser finishing when they were putting soap on threads to protect them, okay, we need to find a solution for that. And then really kind of, working with the industry, looking at the equipment manufacturers, on what's coming up, the ozone washes, the laser finishing, and, working with them using our different threads or developing a new thread to work with their products. So, it's really kind of an end-to-end design process that we're staying in tune with the industry, working with people like Mohsin to understand what's coming up and being prepared for that.
Yeah, no, I'm lucky enough to be in these conversations with you guys, and I get to have sample cones of some awesome threads that haven't been released yet. And it is very exciting when a new type of thread comes out and you have to sign an NDA and you can't tell anyone about it. But it is an awesome thing to know that you guys are developing some awesome threads in the future, and definitely more sustainable options. So it's pretty awesome. But yeah, it depends. Again, every type of machine is different. Some factories have got old machinery, but the great thing is you're working with both Genealogia and Tornello, and you're all the latest sustainable treatments. You're literally double checking all of your thread types constantly to double check that these threads are still working on all these newer types of finishes. So it's definitely a trusted source when you buy from a thread from Coats, let's just say. But no, this is awesome. I think that might be it. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Troy. It's been awesome having this conversation with you. Do make sure you find us all on Instagram, to follow us on LinkedIn. There's 2 more sessions for CoatsCast. The next one's going to be on Wednesday the 28th, exactly at the same time as today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. This recording is going to be sent to you via email, so don't stress about it. And it's going to be on YouTube as well quite shortly. Hope I've mentioned everyone. Oh, and next week's session is going to be with an amazing denim designer called Miles Johnson, and he's going to be talking us through his own sustainable journey as well, which is awesome, and how he's been developing denim collection. So it's goodbye for me. Thank you, Amar and Sarah in the background, and thank you, Troy, again, and hope to see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.